I'm Turk Strongman of Tharanki Ramacharaka. Thank you for selecting this video on the war. Before I continue, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now's your chance to do it. Take a moment to do it right now. This way you can also activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of my new uploads. Additionally, right now you can share the joy of this channel with others simply by clicking on that thumb up icon just below this video player window. Now the war. I have no script or rehearsed. This is an unrehearsed and unscripted video, so I'll probably address a few things and maybe jump back and forth a little bit, but I think you're going to be able to follow along. I hope so. First, just offhand, I want to say something about the Bible. The most commonly referenced or used, carried, cited Bible, I believe, going in the world for a good long time has been the King James Version. Arguably so. To the best of my knowledge, ever since King James of the royal family, the British royalty, some several hundred years ago, King James authorized an edition, and edit, and it became the standard. And so far as it was the standard in the British Empire, it became kind of like the standard in the world. I wonder why all the controversy that does exist, and has existed for some good while, about the verity of everything in the King James Version, about the literalness of the King James Version, of its meanings, right? And talk about the major changes that have taken place, the deletions, the omissions, the changes of wordings over time that King James authorized. With all the controversy and the conflict and the ongoing, endless literary controversy, which ends up being a matter of sluggardly minded activity, I wonder why I grew up in a very Bible-thumping family, so I've heard a lot of arguments along these lines throughout my life. I've come across them, I've looked into it in quite a while, and I never came across this one. Why would anybody put much faith and much trust in the verity of the King James Version of the Bible? When King James was a member of the royal family, an inbred, a bloodline, inbred, royalty family. And what is that inbred, royal bloodline, divine right to rule family? I mean, these people with their divine right to rule, do you know what divine right to rule means? It refers to being direct descendants of divinity. Well, what divinity? What do they mean? Direct bloodline descendants. And trace their bloodline back to who or what? Well, whoever created us. Now, who is it that they believe created us? They supposedly know the truth. the Anunnaki, mixed in with lower astral denizens known as reptilians, who have, along the lines, been able to manifest here materially on our planet, but they cannot stay that way for long at a time. They mixed in their DNA with what had been created by the Anunnaki, the Elohim. And therefore, being so close, much closer than the rest of us, the masses, who have been interbreeding, diluting the bloodline so that there is no real bloodline, but the divine right to rule those bloodline families, they keep it all in their family, because that keeps their DNA connection with these creators or their gods pure. And so they can always claim that they are direct descendants. They are very closely linked to lordship, stewards of the race. And they have the divine right to rule. And their sacrifices, their wars, dating way back, all the sacrifices, but including all the bloodshed and wars and so forth. What are these sacrifices to? They are to these entities. Okay. King James. With these agendas and these connections and this ideology going on in the royal family, inbred, half-witted, dim-witted, nit-witted, inbred royal family who claims a divine right to rule, why would somebody trust that person's authorized version of the Bible? Huh? All right, now, let's move on. All kinds of war is talked about for a long time. It's been going on for a long time. Whoever instigated the first war, I've heard it was back in the time of a former race called the Atlanteans. They had fallen into intense wickedness and evil, and many of their hearts had turned black when their wizards, their magicians, their sorcerers, the hearts had turned black. Blood boiled in their hearts. And they instigated the first war, the most abominable of all human acts, the most insane of all human acts. They instigated the first war. And then not long after, their race ceased. And this Adamic race rose. Isn't it interesting, though? That war still smolders in men's hearts. And it has been said that all subsequent wars, subsequent to that first one, have been attempts to right the wrongs put into motion by that first war. But then they also serve as further blood sacrifices, violence, emotions, astral vibrations based in fear, terror, death. Horror, anger, rage, etc. So one war fuels the next on various levels. So yes, war still smolders in men's hearts. Now, right now there's more talk of war at various levels going on, but all concerning the physical plane with Donald Trump now. You know? And with them under the umbrella of what war is, and an honest view of it, which I've just given. It seems to be like, various stages and phases of war being talked about by he and his people, Trump and his people, that are for good reasons. Righting the wrongs set into motion long ago that really go back to, and still do, trace back to right now and trace back through time to these dark force entities. That royal families like King James, referred to as gods. The same critters that those Atlanteans fell under the influence of. Well, under that umbrella, yeah. Good wars, right? Wars worth the fight. Trump's wars. Oh, I get that, sure. I think we understand that. But let's take a look at, where that really fits in the bigger picture of what war is. The only war worth fighting, really, the only one that makes sense, I'll put it that way, the only one that makes sense, any sense at all, is a spiritual war. War at the level of the source of the problem. Donald Trump in the physical plane here talks about getting right to the sources of the problems here in this country, the United States. And going to war right there, at that level. Well, he's right. Go to the source. Go to the core. Go right down to where the rubber meets the road. And do a thorough job. But the real rubber, where the rubber meets the road, the real core of the problem is spiritual. The only war that really makes sense, unless you're trying to right the wrongs of the past, and the only way you can do it is to, fight fire with fire. Still, that's under the umbrella of, this shit doesn't make sense. This is insane. This is abominable. This is atrocity. This is the worst level of humanity going. This is the darkest and most depraved thing that can be done. Under that umbrella, yeah. The only war that makes sense is to go to the source of the problem. And that's spiritual. Now, for a long time, the true nature of the problem was not known to humanity. It was only known to the few who kept it all very secretive, because the church, the Pope, and the King would not stand for anybody knowing about this stuff or talking about it, because that only belonged to the few who have the divine right to rule. In other words, to the Pope and the King. One forging shackles for the human body, and the other shackles for the human mind. and to make it simpler and make it work, to keep it all quiet and under wraps and try to make it all look good and to perpetrate the worst things possible and make them among the main of humanity seem just. But it's not all so secret anymore now. So we no longer have an excuse to just bury our heads in the sand and let it all just keep going the way it is. We can no longer claim ignorance. If we continue to just rely on ignorance or the idea that there's nothing that can be done, then we are still ignorant, and we're ignorant above our ignorance, which is the most dangerous kind of ignorance. Humanity is now becoming very aware of the real nature of the war. But don't know what to do about it. Well, excuse me. The battle, the war here, this battle, this go-around right now with Donald Trump will have little effect in the long run if, while he's cleaning up the outer world, right here at home, we, humanity, around the world, continue to ignore the real heart of the problem and do our part to say no, to kick out of our own lives, out of humanity, of the planet. The entities and influences that continue to perpetuate the entire situation. If we don't do our part here, take care of the spiritual side, then Trump's activities in the long run will just be a matter of putting a Band-Aid on a problem that just keeps coming back. You know? Like a skin infection, and you just put a Band-Aid on it and expect that's going to take care of the infection. Poor analogy, I know. Weak, but I hope you get the point. Donald Trump wants to go at it all full force. Do a thorough job. Well, that's the way to do it. But still, that's only the outer physical side of it. So that's not a very thorough job, is it? But that's the part that he's promising to take care of. What part are you going to take care of? Humanity has been living in shackles, merely existing, in shackles for the body and shackles for the mind, especially shackles for the mind. Ever since the Adamic race began. Now, there can be concern. But aren't all these entities, call them what you want, these forces extremely intelligent, extremely powerful, with the power of divine beings like angels and archangels and stuff, except like they don't have our best interests in mind at all. Don't they have capabilities that we don't have? Interdimensionality and so forth. Yeah, most of them, I think. Yeah. Just makes sense, right? Well, then, shouldn't we be afraid? I mean, how can we battle all that? Well, let's just answer with one question back, and then I'll end this video. If it were the case that they were too intelligent, too powerful, and too cunning, too capable for us to battle and potentially defeat, then why, really, would their existence and influence have been kept quiet for so damn long? Yeah, to keep us ignorant, right? But what would us not having been ignorant of it all have brought about or enabled or brought to bear? Doing something about it that's effective. Oh, but does that mean just go into spiritual warfare full blast right now with no real skills or knowledge of the intensity of battle that can be taking place? No, it's not time to be foolish. It's time to pay attention to some rather simple things. Like, for example, here on my channel, I have various techniques here. And in my one-on-one program that I guide people through, I systematically guide a person through, and you'll find instruction here on such things. Like how to maximize one's control over attention, mental focus, and how to work that into a mood of calm confidence. To develop a high level of calm and confident attention control. Matters like that. Okay? Well, that sounds mamby-pamby, right? I mean, who cares? That's no big thing. What's that have to do with anything like spiritual warfare? My God. Just lay down and relax. That's all you have to do. And then focus your mind and do something. Well, let's think of it like this. Let's talk about the virgin birth of Jesus. What that means. Now, did Mary, wife of Joseph, Holy Mother of God, give birth to God, God's Son, and never have sex? Was she a virgin? Come on! That's vulgar. What a cheap shot of an interpretation. You know what it was? She gave birth to a virgin of the world. Jesus' soul was fresh. It had no entanglements with the karma of this world. It had no entanglements at all. with the laws of karma pervading humanity and this earth, this physical plane. He was not in the karmic cycle. He was completely free. He had no part of it. He was completely outside of all that. He was truly divine, 100% pure. He was a virgin to the world, virgin of the world. That's the virgin birth. And then you know what he did. During his time in the desert, he faced the greatest challenge that can ever be faced. All the dark forces affecting humanity tried to get him, all of them, at one time, out there. He was not eating. He wasn't getting much sleep at all. Weeks in the hot desert, alone. And all the dark forces plaguing humanity tried to bring him down. But what he did was enter on the sake of humanity. He did not give in to things like power, wealth, fame, all of the temptations brought to him that would get him out of this situation he was in. Get him out of a future of being, crucified, slandered, made to look like a fool, get him out of the desert, appeal to his false ego. But you see, he didn't have one. Of course, then humanity would have been just in the same old boat, too, if he had given in to any of this. Rescue. All of the, food, whatever. Okay? But he refused. He won. He won that. He beat law. And he carried out his mission. What was it? He took on the karmic load of not just he as an individual. He didn't have a karmic load. But he, as a master of the universe, took on the entire karmic load of all of humanity himself. To help ease the load on humanity. And for a long time, it was the case that if you just believed that he did that, and then contact him, honestly and genuinely, deep inside, and say, help me, I trust you, I'm with you, please help me, there was already that connection there, established by him in that act he did. All you had to do was get in the bandwagon, get in the car. But he also said, the only way to the kingdom of heaven is through me, you must. What he was saying is, humanity. Humanity. All of you now and yet to come, you can do it too. I'm an example. I'm just an example, really. The time will come when it's your job to act on your own. Right now, you don't know all the shit. We're getting wise to it, guys. And now it's our turn to follow in the footsteps. We must act on behalf of all of humanity and fight the spiritual side of the war. We must take care of the only side of the war that makes any sense. You can talk all you want about being, a disciple of God, a follower of Jesus, a chosen one, a spiritually advanced person, spiritual warfare, angels and demons, for God's sakes, Dungeons and Dragons. But none of it means shit unless you do your part right here, right now, where the rubber meets the road. Right in front of your face. And right inside in your own being. At your own spiritual level. It's time to take off the shackles of the mind. It's time to put on some armor. You can learn about it here on my channel. And do the work. Will there be opposition? Yeah. Yeah. Will there be opposition to Trump's side of it? Yeah. There already is. He's not even in office yet. Yeah, there's opposition. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Damn right. Good to be prepared. It's the same at the spiritual level. Yeah, there will be opposition. Yeah. But it can be done. It can be done. And just like with Trump's side of it, a little cleanup in this town and a little, cleaning up down at the border and deporting a couple of people, that's not going to do it. It has to be a major sweep. It has to be a major sweep. And then continued maintenance of the result. It has to be a thorough enema. And that's what our part has to be too. It takes us all. And I'll tell you this. Any of you who are not willing to participate in this, you're not worth a damn. You shouldn't even be here. Get out of our way. Step aside. Go make yourself extinct. There you go. Like the video, give it a thumb up. Didn't like it? Give your other thumb up. You know why? Because it's a damn good video. And it speaks the truth. Subscribe, get notified, share the joy of the channel with others. Give this a thumb up. Thanks for selecting this video on the war. I'm Turk Strawman of the Ranky Ramacharaka. Let's go.